And before you knew it, was 6 a.m. and you'd made loads of dashboards.
Well, it's 2 a.m. in Tel Aviv, and it's like, okay, I need to go to my part-time job the next morning, so I better stop.
Oh, fantastic. Well,
okay, so I just want to say thank you for everything you do for us, Gemma. So this is for you too.
That's very sweet. So we'll raise a glass to all of you for getting through to week 11. You know, having learned so much already. You know, congratulations to all of you. And it's good to see things are looking up and people we're starting to see some movement, some hiring activity and all of that. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you that have been following along with this. It's great. So today's session, we're going to finish off the badge we were doing the other day, which was the create reports and dashboards for sales and marketing managers. And we're going to move on to a dashboarding. We're then going to go on and move onto a dashboarding course. And we're going to make some beautiful dashboards. It's a real chance to get creative with dashboards. And the interesting thing as well is that, you know, if you start delivering these to customers or to your stakeholders, you know, they become very much a business as usual maintenance activity, because people always want different things on the dashboards. They'll always want things changed. So the more you do, the more you work with dashboards, the more it just becomes second nature. You may have seen on Monday, I set you some beautiful homework to do your first super badge. And this is a really fun super badge. Super badges are basically the first step between Trailhead and gaining a certification, because in super badges you are required to apply the knowledge that you've learnt to an actual scenario, and they can be challenging. They can also be frustrating because the checking mechanisms are so tight. But there is a blog post that I wrote quite a while ago now that gives you some tips for passing it. They don't tell you exactly what to do to pass it, because I think that Trailhead might tell me off. And also, I don't think that you would get the same benefit from it, from doing it, if I gave you all the answers. But I have posted that blog post that can help you. And if you do get stuck on it, again, just Google it and see what other people have written. There's plenty of help out there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our reporting dashboard. I'm just going to get my training plan up in another screen as well, just so I don't lose my way. So we were working on the badge called Create Reports and Dashboards for Sales and Marketing Managers, and we're skipping through to custom summary formulas. I'm putting the link to that section in the chat for you, so that you don't have to search for it. I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to sip on my red wine while we go. And then I'll probably run off halfway through for some water as well. Anyway. So the other day we got as far as grouping and categorizing data. We filtered our reports. We created a simple report, custom report. We looked at report types, and we looked at some of the ways that we can extend our reports. And I got very, very excited about some of the filtering that you can do with fields instead of set static values. So I was really, really chuffed about that. So in this first part, we're going to look at summary formulas. Summary formulas are a way of introducing aggregations into your report in a more interesting way than you would get on a record itself. So we know that from our earlier teaching that our earlier training that we can create formula fields to calculate values from within a single record or records related to that record. What we can do with custom summary formulas is actually produce formulas directly within a report, and that's based upon summarized data. So the sum of this divided by the sum of that, you know, as a percentage of the sum of the other. This is about as sophisticated as you can get in terms of analytics with the native out-of-the-box reports and dashboards functionality. You may remember in my my PSA org the other day, which is the one with all the big nasty utilization reports. we will work through this exercise, and I can show you that report again to show you what we get as a result of that, because I use custom summary formulas actively to calculate the utilization of people based on their timesheets and so on. That's more of a practical example. Right, so hopefully you're all logged into your Trailhead playgrounds. We are going to go to the reports tab, and we're going to modify the opportunities by rep report to display closed opportunities by sales rep. So we go into our reports and we look for opportunities by rep. I'm going to move this Trailhead badge onto my other screen so that I'm not so that you can follow along. So summary formulas, great way to calculate additional totals based on numerical values in your report. So we, in addition to all the standard summaries, remember we can summarize any currency or number field. We can summarize it, we can average it, we can minimize, we can get a ceiling and a floor number. We can add up to 5 summary formulas to our summary and matrix reports in order to create these aggregations in our numerical fields. So our VP of sales knows what each of her reps have in their pipelines. However, she would like to see how they're closing deals. Let's build a report to show how her percentage of closed opportunities are actually being won. So opportunities by rep is the report that you need. So we're going to click on that. And then we're going to go to our filters, and we're going to change our opportunity status filters to say closed. I believe at the moment it's looking at either all opportunities or, yeah, okay. So we hit edit. Click the filters pane, click opportunity status. So into our filters, and we have our opportunity status. So at the moment, we're only looking at open opportunities. So we're going to change that to closed. And can anyone remind me, what's the difference between closed and closed won? I haven't thrown a question at you guys for ages. That's right. Closed is lost or won. It can be either of those. So we're going to hit apply. After we've hit closed. And then we're going to go to our arrow column, our outline pane. So into here, into this tab where it says outline. And we're going to, under columns, we're going to click the down button and we're going to show a summary formula. Now, there are 2 different types of formulae. A row level formula is just for 1 row. So if you want to add, I don't know, the age plus the amount, like you'd ever want to, or you want to divide an amount by a percentage weighting that you want to apply to give a weighted amount, you can do that for row level formula. Summary level formula is where you can actually do that for a summary or matrix report. So we're going to click add summary formula. And this window comes up and it enables you to start building a formula. You can either sit and type it if you want to, or you can pull in the fields and functions that you need. And the fields and functions are fairly similar to formula fields, but there are some differences. You get a parent group val function, which I've used a lot of times, but not for a while. And that helps you to create formulas that show a percentage per summary of, like, so say you were showing a status report, so an opportunity built by status, grouped by stage, and you wanted to show what percentage of opportunities or percentage of value for those opportunities are in each stage as a percentage of the total. So you would use that formula for that as an example. And then you notice there are a few other ones. So blank value doesn't exist in our standard formula fields. It only exists in the report custom summary formula builder. And then you've got others that kind of just make sense anyway, because it is blank, is null, is number, etc. For this instance, we are going to create a summary formula that's called win rate. And in the description, we just say this is the ratio of 1 to closed opportunities. So this is going to say by rep, what is each rep's win rate, which is helpful to a sales manager because they can then identify training opportunities, coaching opportunities, perhaps shuffle some accounts around to more experienced reps, and just basically help them to achieve, really. That's what I'd like to think they do in a sales organization. Okay, so our formula output type, this is where we choose, is this a number? When we add everything together, or we do a percentage, is it a number, percent, or currency? So we're going to choose a percent, and we're going to add, leave it showing as 2 decimal points. There are 2 settings here. One is where you put your formula. The other is a display toggle here where you get to choose, do I create this formula and have it work for all summary levels, or just the grand total, or any specific groups? And in this one, we are going to start with just building the formula and completing the details. So we need to find a field under the Fields tab that's called 1. And as with anything, we just start typing and we can just click it. Yeah, click 1, ensure sum is selected. Okay, and then click insert. So what this is going to do is it's going to add up for each summary. So because it's grouped by person, for each person, it's going to add together all of the rows where 1 equals 1. Now, 1 will equal 1 because it's a checkbox, right? And if it's not ticked, it will be 0. So this is the appropriate approach to calculate how many opportunities have been won. So we insert that into our formula. Just again, if you missed that, click on the field you want, check that you've got the right setting here. So we're adding, which means sum, and then we just click insert and it will add it in. Now, as you get used to the syntax here, you might find it easier or quicker to write. You can also type in, start typing and see the options here as well. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to divide the amount that we have. We're going to divide the sum of 1 opportunities. So it's basically a count. We're going to divide. Oh, no, we're not, maybe. Okay. We're going to divide that by the sum of closed opportunities to get a percentage. So you can just type sum. You could just type closed and then hit sum, or you could select it from the fields on the left-hand side. Now, actually that this particular instance is going to work well because you're dealing with 2 checkbox fields. One is 1 and 1 is closed, and they're both either going to be 0 or 1. If you're dealing with currencies or percentage of numbers, etc., then you often end up having to put is null. You end up having to catch exceptions in here so that it doesn't show an error when you have when it tries to calculate in a summary report and there's missing data. So you often have to try and catch that. In this trailhead example, they've deliberately set it up so that doesn't happen. So, which makes sense because it's a lot more to explain if that happens. And this is an introduction. So we're going to click validate, and it says that's fine, that's valid. So we're going to apply it. At the bottom of the preview pane, slide the toggle next to the detail rows to hide the details, and you'll be able to see your new summary formula when you refresh your preview. You see? So 100% win rate, woohoo! I'm going on a desert island holiday next year. Fantastic. I might be the only one there, but anyway. So out of my 18 records, now because I'm a bit of a cynic and I don't always believe what I see, I'm going to actually add those 2 input fields to my report just to check. You don't have to do this. This is just because I have trust issues. So refresh. There's no way I could have 18 opportunities that are all closed won. Surely not. Oh, apparently I do. Bearing in mind, this is a preview. So, you know, it might not reflect, usually doesn't reflect the actual results. Right, do not save this. We're going to go to save as, because we're keeping a copy of it. And we're going to call this sales rep win rates. And we're going to replace our description with how well are my sales reps closing. And it will stay in the global sales reports folder. I can't get over how lovely and cool it is in here. Oh, I'm so happy. Anyway. So now that's saved. What we should now see, and that's interesting because I am seeing 18 opportunities and a 100% win rate. So if you're happy with the report that you've made, you can verify your step to earn 100 points. I think I might build this for my own org. Okie dokie. So then the next step is we're going to go to the next part of the Trailhead badge, which is called Manage Reported Data. Now this is the fun part because we're going to export a report as CSV, and Zaynep came up against this consideration the other day. We had a call to talk about the data loading homework that we did last week, and there's a couple of points I just want to make you aware of. So first of all, let's take a look at the requirements. So as good as Salesforce reports and dashboards are, we have a CEO who wants a printable, adjustable output of the users who haven't logged in the last 7 days. I don't know why he wants that to be adjustable. Anyway, or she. So, but this is a way to enable manipulation of data. Now, personally, I prefer not to use this unless I really have to. If I'm going to export data, then I will usually use the data loader and run an export. And the reason that I do that is because of IDs. When you export a report, there are 2 options for how you can export that report. So let's follow along with this report that's called Users Not Logged In the Last 7 Days. So we'll go into our Reports tab and locate that particular report. Save and close. Come on, Trailblazers. Right, users not logged in last 7 days. So if you click that, it will run the report. Report. And the first thing we're going to do is export this as a CSV file. Now, I said there are 2 ways to export a report. One is you can export a printable view. So if you export to Excel, you will just see this summarized view here as a list. So if we click export, we can have a formatted report where we see everything grouped, just as it is right now, and that exports into Excel. Or we can have details only, where we can choose whether to Excel it or CSV it. What's the difference? Well, it's easy to see the difference if you're working with a matrix report or a summary report, because if you choose a formatted report, you're just going to see, in fact, I'll export both for you. You're just going to see this report formatted as it is for now, so that if you've got users off platform who need to see data that's in Salesforce, you can run them a report, export it to Excel, and it looks pretty much like this, nice and pretty. And I just got to open up Excel because it tends to open on a different screen. Come on. So it's ideal for presentations. If you export to CSV, what you get instead is the raw data, which you can then manipulate and use for future data loads, which I wouldn't recommend you use these reports if you're using IDs in them. But you could use them to inform future data loads if you wanted to, if there's no IDs, or if you're doing a backup. Have I got Excel open? Yes, here it is. 2 seconds. Kommen Sie bitte. Okay, so here is the formatted report, and you can see it's basically completely formatted. You can make changes to it. You can, it's still, I mean, if you wanted to filter it, etc., then you would have to delete the headers and everything else, in which case, it's actually better to export the raw data as opposed to the formatted data. So this is what you might send to someone off platform who needs to see some data presented in a nice way. With regards to the raw data itself, shall we have a look at what that could look like? As you can see, it's a very different kind of report. It's very raw. There are no headers. There's no copyright notice. You can just do what you want with it. Add your own filters, put it in a pivot table, etc. You can just kind of play with it. Now, I want to show you what happens if you try and export data that has an ID in it. So if I edit this report, I'll show you. Is it worth opening the data loader as well, I wonder? Okay, so if I pull in the ID, user ID, it's going to go and collect the actual record ID. So that's like the scrambled mess of letters and numbers that will look similar to what you see up here in the URL here. And if I run this and export it, here is my ID. Now, there's something odd about this ID. Can anybody guess what it might be? Zainab, you're not allowed to answer. So Jeremy says the user ID isn't the person logged in, but rather the primary key of the row. You're right on the second part. Yes, that is the primary key of the row. But there's something very odd about this primary key. No? Okay. This primary key, this is the user ID. However, it's not a complete user ID. A user ID has 18 characters. all of the rows, all the records in Salesforce have 18 characters as a unique primary key, unique identifier. Now I've just run a query in the data loader just to show you the difference. If we look at, so here is our report with the user ID in it, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now let's have a look at what we get from the data loader, view extraction. In the ID, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then we've got 3 more characters. So doing a comparison, our integration user ends in AAA5. Our integration user here ends in just A, because it cuts off the last 3 characters. Now, Zaynep found this out the hard way when she was trying to do her data. When she was trying to do her data upload, she was loading opportunities against accounts, and she successfully imported all her accounts, but she struggled when it came to importing the opportunities, because when she had uploaded all the accounts, she quite rightly, ran a report to say, show me all the accounts that are in the system with name and ID, so that I can then export that report and use it to create opportunities that I can then load against these accounts. So on the opportunity, you will have an account name field, and you put that ID in it. She got an error saying, it didn't recognize the primary key. And that's because of the 15 characters, because the last 3 characters of the identifier have been cut off. Now, other errors that you can see if you've got lots of data is it might have a go at you saying that there's duplicate IDs, because you can have 2 account records where the first 15 characters are identical, but the last 3 are not. So having learned that, my preferred approach is to use the data loader to export data if I'm going to be doing any kind of data load, because then I can guarantee that 1, I've got my column names correct, and it just saves a bit of time. 2, I've got the complete IDs here. Now, there are other tools that you can use to fix IDs. In fact, back in the day, there used to be an Excel connector that you could download. In the days before Office 2013, you could download a connector, and you could just use a simple formula that was called equals fix ID, and then reference a column with a 15-digit ID in it, and then it would just go to Salesforce and go and get the last 3 digits. It was just awesome. And then it just didn't work anymore. But there are different formula you can use now. You can use a formula called case safe ID, which I've used with a process builder and Flow a few times for formulas in Flow, because in Flow sometimes it truncates the last 3 digits, the last 3 characters. So I have to use case safe ID to go in to reference that ID field. And there is also various people who've built open source tools online, and some of those are really good for just fixing the odd fixing the odd record, which I have used a few times. So here is a admin booster. Admin booster's got a tool here, so you can paste your list of IDs. I've used this a few times. You can paste your list of 15 character IDs. Let's take that one, for example. There, into here, and just click 15 to 18, and it will go and get the last 3 characters. So that's another useful tool. It's just called adminbooster.com/tool 15 to 18. Okay. Jeremy asks, is it possible to display the full column in the normal reporting tool? Why is it truncated? I wish I knew. I'm really sorry. I don't know the answer to that one. I can try and find out. I'm sure there are plenty of people watching who know, or on the internet who know. Unfortunately, I don't. But it will actually, there are tools out there that will help you with this. Okie doke. Any questions on that so far, other than the 15 to 18? Okay. So with your once you've exported that, it just says open it. Notice that you can display it. There's no way of checking this bit, so I would just verify your step. You should be all right on this step because it can't exactly log onto your computer and make sure that you've exported it. I mean, let me just think. There are occasions when I've used reports to export data. The particular use case I did that for was what we was a regular data job that we had at Dun & Bradstreet, which was called the pipeline load. So once a quarter, we looked at what had been sold for that quarter the previous year. We exported all the opportunities from a report just like this into Excel, and we didn't actually need in fact, that was the time when I used to use the Fix ID tool in the Excel connector. I thought it was brilliant because you could just load update data right there from the Excel connector. I loved it anyway. In this Excel connector, we would take all the opportunities that had been sold. We would uplift the amount by 10%. We would move the date on by a year, and then we would load that data back into Salesforce as a renewal. So there were certain literal values that we would change. So we'd add new columns called, record type equals renewal. We would change the owner sometimes. We would change the the market or the segment, depending on what the business strategy was. And, we would load that. Nowadays, you can create auto renewal flows to automatically generate those renewals and also to move the dates on. Like, so if previous year's opportunity is still open, for some reason, we would move the date on. So there are lots of things that you can do with that data. Okay. And then our final piece is to visualize your data. Now, this is where we get this is where we start adding charts to our reports so that we can visualize. So let's see our charts in action. Our CEO is so impressed with the work that we've done. He's asked for something special. He wants a way to display sales rep performance graphically. Well, you could just turn around and say, that's great, but I just exported all that data for you into a spreadsheet. So surely you can create your own chart. But, I think I'd get fired for that. Anyway, we're going to add a vertical bar chart to compare our sales reps' win rates. So we're going to go back to reports, and we're going to go and find the win rates report that we just generated. I really should learn to click edit first before I click on the actual name of it. It's just old habit. Old habits die hard. Blah, blah, blah. We are that. So when you add it, so it's worth noting as well, when you create a chart, you can only create a chart for a summary report or a matrix report. You can't do it for a list report. A list is just a list. If you're doing a chart, how do you know what your summarized amount is? What's on your x-axis? What's on your y-axis? Unless you can't possibly define that unless you've got some kind of summary. So just something to bear in mind. So if you ever log into a report that you've made and you've gone, I can't add a chart, that's check if you've got any summary going on here. So we're going to click Add Chart. And there's my spectacular win rate, 100%, 3.6 million, of course. Just kidding. We're going to click the gear icon in the upper right-hand corner of the chart, and this will open up the chart editor. Now, bearing in mind, we're not actually editing this report at the moment. We're just editing the chart, so we're going to have to be very careful about saving it afterwards, otherwise we will lose what we've done. So click Chart Properties, and we are going to create a chart which is a column chart, and you've got all different types of charts here. So here's your bar. Column is like a bar but pointing upwards. You have a stacked bar, which is if you want to group your figures, and you can do that through bar chart or column. You can have a line chart. You can have a donut, which is a pie chart, basically. I think it's better than a pie chart because the donut has the total showing in the middle. You have a funnel if you want to show a sales funnel amount. And you can have a scatter plot. Now, I used that yesterday for one of the first times ever. and it actually looked awesome. I was trying to show what skill levels my consultants have based upon data that they've put into the system. So I built them a flow that says, you know, please follow this flow to create your certifications. And it's just like 2 steps. It's what cert have you got? When did you get it? Congratulations. And all that information actually creates records that feed into my Scatterplot. And then I did the same thing with industries. I said, if you've got industry experience, click on this action and, you know, say what industry it was, tell us how many years experience you've got, and save it. Done. And then on the Scatterplot, it actually has a vertical. It has across the bottom, it has like the number of people, and in the y-axis, it has the years of experience. So I know that I know roughly how much experience we have in each of our industries, and I know which industries have the most people with the most experience at a glance through that Scatterplot. I thought it was brilliant. Anyway, I digress. So we are going to use the column chart in this instance. And our title is going to be Sales Rep Win Rates. And we're going to change our y-axis drop down, because at the moment it's just looking at the sum of the age. We're going to set it to win rate, which is our custom summary formula. So we can see immediately that it's 100%. Another way that you could do this would be to say sum of 1 and stack it to percentage, but we can't do that at this. We can't do that because we haven't got enough groupings. So this is a simpler use case. And it's much more transparent as well, because you just see the 100. Okay, when you're done, click the gear icon to close it. And you see you get a summary here of the key figures, like the ones that you're most interested in. So total 1, total close, win rate 100%, and then you can see it graphically here. And if you hover over that bar, you'll see a pop-up that explains who is the owner and what's the division between here, the distribution of the data. So then I'm going to save this because I want to keep my chart forever and ever and ever. And now we're going to have a little bit of fun with visualizing this data and all the other reports that we've been building. Now, building dashboards is something, you know, that takes a little bit of time. You have to think about, and actually it's also very dynamic. I mean, I was building a dashboard the other day, and I often end up gravitating between 2 different situations. Sorry, between the reports tab and the dashboards tab. I've got a sandbox with a dashboard in it that I'm happy to show you as an example of a real life one, even though the data's not up to scratch because it's a sandbox, but that's how I want it anyway. So to get to my sandbox, I'll just go to test.salesforce.com, which is a completely different server, and I'm logging into my sandbox. Hello, Naga. Nice to see you. And we'll go ahead and build our own in a minute. I just want to show you what's possible with the dashboard. So this is a sandbox test environment for my org, which has got, you know, unreliable data in it. And in my dashboards, I've actually had a lot of fun with several different things. So we have a certifications dashboard, and we have a game dashboard, a gaming dashboard. So in my gaming dashboard, whoopsie, I've been having too much fun with this. So in my gaming dashboard, if I my sales dashboard, if I refresh this, this is the sort of thing I can give my people. So I can actually say, you know, this is my pipeline by buying stage. You know, here are my top customers by the amount that I've sold to them. These are donut graphs showing like win reasons, lost reasons. You know, I just created fields that say, why did we lose an opportunity? You know, why did we win an opportunity? And what's my lead conversion rate? What's my pipeline? What's the buying stage? So like, how many of these customers, you know, where are they in their buying process, as opposed to where are they in my selling process? So it's just a different way of looking at things. And then for like certifications, for example, you know, this gives me an idea of who's got exams, and also the cumulative, so like this is a certifications cumulative growth. So it shows like, as people have got certified over the time, when did they start? How quickly did they grow? You know, it's really useful management insight. So for the scatter plot, what have I got? That's my industry dashboard. Let me have a wee look. I can't show you that one because it's in my production org. Why have I not done it in here? Yeah, apologies. I can't show you my production org, but you know, there's just an idea of what's possible. Okay, so back to our trailhead. The dashboard that we're going to create. Sorry, let me just explain. Dashboards are just a way of representing data in different ways, but on one screen. And you can have one report that sits behind, and basically you can't create these unless you've got reports in the system already. Okay, so they're based on reports. You can have several graphs that on a dashboard that are driven by the same report, and that helps you keep the list of reports down to a manageable size. And you can have I think it used to be up to 20 components on a dashboard on any one dashboard. And you can also filter your dashboards so that you don't have to keep creating one dashboard for each team. For example, you could actually run a dashboard and filter it by team. So it's just an easy way to allow people to see information. And good practice for us as admins is that if people are asking us for dashboards and they want, oh, just send me it, just send me it. Don't send them anything, send them the link. Because if they've got a Salesforce license and they want to see data that's on a dashboard, you know, you're actually hampering adoption by taking screenshots or downloading it or emailing it. You're actually hampering adoption of the system, and it is quite an expensive system. Per license, it costs quite a lot for many companies. So ideally, you want to be pushing adoption as best you can by sharing links to things rather than actually screenshotting and all of that. Sometimes you can screenshot, you know, if you have to. If there's people off platform that need to see the data, that's fine. But it should be the exception rather than the norm. So new dashboard, we are going to go to our dashboards tab, click the drop down. Sorry, click on the dashboards tab. And we're going to click New Dashboard. This one is going to be called Global Sales Dashboard. And the description, we're not putting one in this time, okay? And we're going to save it into our Global Sales Dashboards folder. Reports and dashboards have different folders that they belong to. So you can't store a dashboard in a report folder, and you can't store a report in a dashboard folder. And now you get given this kind of blank screen with lots of squares on it. Back in the day, you had 3 columns, and that was it. 3 columns. And all of the components that you drop in had to be the same size. You know, and it kind of got tough to manage. Well, not tough to manage, but it just got kind of boring. There's so much cool stuff you can do, and now that we've got these, you can actually make certain graphs and charts bigger in order to highlight them, and bring them, make them stand out if they're important metrics. You can do even more with Einstein Analytics and Tableau. So we're going to click to add a component, and notice how it just comes up with a list of reports. Which reports are we going to bring through? So we're going to add our opportunities by rep. So we just click that and click select. And then we come up with a load of options. Now, you have a few different ways you could cut this. You could choose to use the chart settings from your report if you wanted to. But because this report doesn't have a chart, but back in the day, you'd have to go in and edit the report and add a chart before you could add it to a dashboard. But now we can actually, manipulate our charts directly. Now, what you summarize by, it becomes really important when you want to show data in a dashboard, because the options for your X and Y axis are directly related to what you've grouped your data by and what you've summarized in terms of your figures. So in this example, we're going to use a vertical bar chart, and we're going to set the y-axis to record count. We just want to know how many opportunities are owned per rep. We're going to make sure that our show values box is ticked. Look what happens if I untick it. It just takes away that number 18 from the bar. If we put it back on, it brings it back. You can also choose how you display your units. If you're dealing with a huge pipeline full of money and you sell billions or trillions of dollars, fantastic. You can actually choose how to round your numbers up. So you can show the full number, the shortened number, or you can show in hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions. I just have a modest count of opportunities, so I think the shortened number is sufficient for this case. The text areas also become really important, and there are other things you can do here as well. You can actually add a custom link here so that if someone clicks on it, it could take them to somewhere completely different. You could have it take them to a Visualforce page. You could have it take them to Tableau. You could have it take them to the intranet. You could have it take them to the report if you wanted to. There's loads of stuff you can do there. You'd even have it go to a Google Analytics graph. Our title, subtitle, and footer, they become important. Some of the best dashboards that I've seen have real descriptions that explain what you're looking at. What am I looking at here? Well, I'm seeing it's called opportunities by rep. Well, that's fantastic. It's pretty self-explanatory. But what am I supposed to do with that information? So title is a great way to say this is what this data is. Subtitle you could use to describe how it's grouped. And the footer is a great opportunity to explain why it's there. So, and in Trailhead, we're just prompted to put a title and a subtitle in. I might push it a little bit further. Our title is Sales Pipeline. That's what we're looking at. And the subtitle is Number of Open Opportunities by Rep. For some reason, we've got to make that uppercase. Okay, and notice what it does to the component. It gives you a nice title and a subtitle. Now in the footer, I might say shows who has the most open opportunities enabling analysis of pipeline distribution or lead distribution. If I was going to go further, I might actually choose to group these by industry so I could see what industries people are selling into. Just something you could do. You also get the option to change your theme. You can make it light or dark. I like dark theme because my eyes, I'm very short-sighted, and I have a genetic predisposition to age-related macular degeneration. So my vision's not going to get any better. So I actually prefer to put it into dark mode, but that's up to you. So add, and look, it adds this lovely component here. Now I can change the size. I can, the smallest I can make it is that or that, but that's no use to man nor beast. So what I try and do is make sure that I've covered as much as possible in there. Okay, save as you go, for God's sake. If your internet drops and you've spent an hour on a dashboard, it's depressing. Okay, the next thing we're going to add is our sales rep win rates. So we're going to click on component again, and we're going to go get our win rates and click select. With this time, we're going to use a table to do this. So in dashboards, you have a few more options than what you have in report charts. In dashboards, you can have a metric, so you can just show a number, 1.2K. You can have a gauge where you can set red, amber, green segment ranges. You can have your funnel like you could have in your report chart. You can have your scatter chart like you could have in your report chart, but you can also have a table. So this will create a leaderboard if you like. So in this instance, we are just going to use, and similar to the report builder, we want account name. And we want stage. And we want expected revenue. Oh no, we're removing them. Opportunity name and amount should be the only remaining columns. I nearly did it again, didn't I? Opportunity name and amount. And get rid of age. Right, so we can see our top opportunities. Now they're not sorted properly. So what we want to do, what are we going to call this? Sorry, sales rep win rates. Update the title to opportunities 1. Are we sure about that? Remember, we've got a grouping closed and then 1. Anyway. Now, one of the things you might want to do here is to make this a leaderboard. You probably want to change the way it's been sorted. So at the moment, this table is sorted by opportunity name. We want to sort by amount, descending. And that will show us our top closed won opportunities. So we add that and we put that, where do we put it? We put it to the right of the total open opportunities metric to create a third dashboard column. What have I missed? Opportunities by rep. Oh, I missed one. Sister Laura, I've missed one. Okay, so the one that I missed was the metric component where we bring in opportunities by rep. So we create a new component, which is called opportunity, which based on the opportunities by rep report. I scrolled down too fast and missed a bit. I'm so sorry. And we just select the metric, and this will tell us how much our pipeline is worth. And that is based upon our, what's it based upon? The sum of age, not good. Sum of amount. 3.4 million, that looks about right. And we want to display our units as a shortened number. And we're going to complete our text areas as total open opportunities. So this is like a total value. And our subtitle, sorry, we don't put a subtitle in. Instead, in the footer, we're going to put value of open ops in sales pipeline. Pipe. Now this, I believe, is going up the top here to the right of the ops by rep vertical bar charts. And then our sales rep win rates, our table that we did, is going to the right of that to create a third column. Now what I might do is just extend that a little bit, make it a bit bigger, and then put that there. So save. Right. The next thing we have to do is we're going to create a gauge component, and this is using the sales rep win rates report again. So hit plus component, sales rep win rates, hit select. This time we're going to select a gauge. And we are going to leave the ranges as they are. So if you scroll down, you'll see there's different ranges. And we're going to change the measure to win rate. So measure is here, and we pick our custom summary formula that we did. And you'll see 100%, fantastic, top sales rep. Complete the text areas. The title is going to be company win rate. And that's really key as well. You'll think of titles that actually tell a story, like what is actually going on with this number. Ratio of 1 to closed ops. So I was just checking that I've covered that correctly. Yes. So let's click add. And as per trailhead, because it didn't say what sizes we needed to use, I'm going to just make a little adjustment because we need to show, so I think that is actually smaller. We need to put our gauge over here. And save. Congratulations. And this is the point where you're going to get your badge, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, you made it easier for your stakeholders to review their Salesforce data with ease and efficiency. You have harnessed the power of Report Builder to customize Salesforce objects and fields into meaningful information. So when you're ready, please do feel free to go ahead and click on verify step, and you should all have a nice shiny new badge for your trailhead profile. Congratulations. Right, let me catch up. Is there any questions? No. Okay, what did everyone think of that? You've built a nice, simple dashboard. Now, there is one more thing I just need to explain. When you run a report, the data that you're looking at is live. So you run a report and then someone adds an opportunity in, and then you run it again 5 minutes later. That new opportunity will be in your report. Or you refresh the page and it will be in the report. Dashboards are slightly different. With dashboards, you have to click a button to refresh your dashboard. Otherwise, you're looking at data that's a little bit out of date. And Salesforce is very good at telling you when it was last refreshed and just kind of suggesting that you refresh it again to see the most up-to-date information. There are so refreshing it regularly is important. The other things you can do with a dashboard is you can subscribe to it. So if you click subscribe, you can actually be emailed and you can schedule the dashboard refresh, and you can subscribe to receive the results. And as an admin, you can actually change who gets the email. So you could you could actually have Salesforce automatically schedule and run it and send and email the dashboard to individual users or to roles and subordinates. And you can also subscribe to it individually, or also as an admin you can remove all the recipients of that dashboard as well. One thing we used to do quite regularly at D&B was we would look at when dashboards were last refreshed. We would look at an entire list, and if a dashboard hadn't been refreshed for a long time, we would prefix it. Oh, excuse me. We would actually enter a double Z into the title. So it would say ZZ _ and then that would make it go to the bottom of the list, and we would just keep an eye on it for a little while. But the ZZ was a way of telling users that we were going to basically decommission those dashboards because they weren't being used. And we would spend time actively speaking to users to get them to tell us what was useful, and therefore help us design our dashboards much better. But bearing in mind as well, this was 2008, 2009. So back then we couldn't filter dashboards. So we used to have loads of dashboards that were running. We had one per team. In fact, most teams, we had a folder that was one for each team. And then we had copies of 5 standard dashboards within each folder that had been, with all reports that had been customized for individual teams. And then when Salesforce released filters, we were very, very, very happy. Anyway, something else you can do with dashboards, which isn't really necessarily talked about a lot, and I think is an awesome feature. If you go to Setup and you go to Chatter and look at the feed tracking. Come on, Blaze. Come on, Blaze. By the way, the new release symbol is Astro holding a heart, which is just fantastic given what everybody's going through right now. Chatter. We can go to feed tracking. I really love this. I think it's so useful, especially given the fact that dashboards are refreshed, and the minute they're refreshed, they're not showing the same data. So it's a way of taking a snapshot of what was on a dashboard and allowing people to talk about it and to collaborate on it. So the first thing you do is you go to your feed tracking and you click dashboards and you enable the feed tracking. That switches on the chatter for dashboards generally. The other thing that you do is you go to reports and dashboard settings. And there's a chatter option here, which is called enable dashboard component snapshots. If I tick that, it means that I can take a snapshot of a dashboard component and it basically screenshots it into the chatter feed so that people can have discussions about it. Let me try and have a go while I pour myself another wine in my Trailblazer glass. I've got way too many Trailblazer stickers. I shall have to dig some out and send them all to you. Why did you do that? You see what that did? I refreshed the whole screen. It took me into edit mode. That's interesting. Right. I can now follow this dashboard because I've enabled feed tracking. What else can I do? If I open up the report, the dashboard, I can actually flip through each of these components. Something else I can do, I can download the components as images. So instead of doing a screenshot, I can do that. But also really fascinating, I love this thing. You can hit share component. Now let's see what that does. Share component enables you to take a screenshot and a snapshot of this individual component on the dashboard. So this is the table, and you can actually write to each other about it. Like, Derek, what is with your pipeline? No coffee for you. Coffee is for closers. And you can share that, and you can mention each other if you want to. You can mention groups. You can add bullet points. You can add emojis. Oh yeah, let's do that. Hang on. Yeah, animals. You can put animals in there. You put your coffee in there, and then just share it. Now, it obviously warns you about data that you could be sharing that might be sensitive. So, you know, you want to be careful about who you enable this for. But if I go back to my chatter feed, see, there we go. And if I click on that, all it's done is it's created a PNG file. It's just turned it into an image so that you can reference it. Now, this is helpful for screenshots, so you can see how things change. And I recommend it to managers, actually. So especially if in this age of remote working, when people need to if people are having meetings and they're looking at the dashboard as a reference point, you know, you can take a screenshot on there and add actions to it. You could actually say, guys, you know, I know for a fact that United Oil Refinery Generators is actually 9 million, not 915,000. Can you please update the opportunity? And you could use that. You could use Chatter for that use case. Okay. And then also, because you've posted it on the dashboard, you get a link to the dashboard as well. So you can click on the global sales dashboard. And Derek could look at that and go, hang on a minute, you big bullying boss. You know, my pipeline's perfectly up to date. You've just run it at the wrong time. Because it's based on a snapshot from this morning. And it might have happened that just during your meeting, I updated the opportunity and you just didn't see it because you had this open for half an hour and didn't see the changes that were going on in the background. So important, just remind them all to refresh. You can't refresh more than once a minute. And to, you know, have a look at what other options are available to you as you work with dashboards. Okay, any questions? Okay. We have 40 minutes left. I'm just going to have a look at my trail mix and double check, because I think I've actually put a second dashboard specific badge on there. I don't think I did, actually. Let's see if there's another badge. What do people want to do? Do you want to go off and have a go at the homework and have a look at the super badge? Or would you like me to carry on with another badge? What do people want to do? We've done that one. And we've done that one. Is there a third? You want to do the super badge? Okay. Adam, my goal is to do the super badge this weekend. Yeah, it should probably take up both days, I would imagine. I think there's a third prerequisite. Yeah, let's have a look and just check what the other prerequisite is. So it's under credentials and super badges. And this is where I can discover whether it's some I've missed as well. But anyway. Yeah, Lightning App Builder, which is one we did earlier on in the course. We've just completed this badge, and we were looking at this badge before, which many of you have said you've done. So if you have managed to complete all of these three, then you're in a really good place to do the reports and dashboard specialist. So I think what I'll do then is I'll let you, I think we can leave it here for tonight, and I'll let you go. If you want to, by all means, please go ahead and, you know, use the remaining time to make a start on your reports and dashboard specialist. This is one I am going to leave to you guys to do on your own, because it is a credential, even though it's slightly different type of credential. It's something that you really do need to do on your own in order to apply the knowledge. But I am here if you have any questions. And next week, we will meet again on Monday. You can give me all your feedback about your super badges. And we will go from there. We'll look at sandboxes and some other non-functional things next week. Thank you, everybody, for coming along. I really appreciate it. And I will speak to you next week. Good luck with the super badge. You're welcome.